Hey, greetings, it's Daniel. Today I want to talk about casting circles. What are they used for? When do we use them? Is it a part of my practice, etc.? Um, Magic type circles have been part of a lot of traditions. We can see references to ancient Babylon. Even in Egypt, there are references of drawing a circle around a woman when she's in labor. There's lots of different reasons for circles. So, in ceremonial magic and things of that nature, circles tends to be a symbol for protection, for protective purposes. Um, and even in some, there's even a circle in certain in Celtic Christianity. Certain saints would draw a circle around them for protection, um, and so forth. I don't really use circles for protection. Now I'm a Christian and I also practice folk magic and of course Wicca. If you've seen in my other videos, I've explained all three and how I work with them. So for me, a circle is a portable temple. It is. I wouldn't say it's sacred space because I see all space as sacred. Instead, it's a space where I set apart to kind of um, leave the mundane world and kind of journey to the spiritual world. In Wicca, we talk about walking between the worlds. It's this space that's really beyond time and space. It's almost like you're journeying to deity of the divine. You're not in earth anymore, but you're not in heaven. You're somewhere in between, this in between space. And it is this, you're entering in the space and you're inviting the gods or God or the Trinity or whatever you work with into your environment. It is, I mean, like I said, it does protect you from not necessarily evil, although that is one purpose of it, but kind of removes all, it kind of clears your mind and any distractions. It's a way of shifting your consciousness from the mundane world to the spiritual world. It's a way of traveling between the worlds. Um, and in Wicca, it's also used as a spear of energy to raise energy and then send it out towards your intent. And protection and raising energy are not the primary reasons for a circle, for me at least. For me, the circle is almost like a gateway to the gods in a sense. When you look at the Bible, it talks about the glory of God filling the temple, the kind of glory kind of coming down and descending in this cloud coming or this fire, depending on which translation you use. In a sense, like I said, I see the magic circle as like a portable temple. It is, I can, not that you need to worship God in a temple, you don't, because all space is sacred in my opinion. Um, all space is sacred. I don't create sacred space. More, I almost journey to sacred space. I journey into it. So it's a place set apart for the deities. Um, Now, in folk magic, there is no need for a circle. Most of the magic we practice is not working with the idea of raising energy. It's more of a calling upon deity. In my specific case, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Jesus, to help us to bring about certain things according to the will of God. So in folk magic, I don't really need, I wouldn't cast a circle for folk magic. I don't need it. It's not really part of it. Now, on certain time, if I'm going to work with a magic circle, I do that with certain types of magic. But really, for me, I use it primarily on the Sabbats, the 8 Wiccan festivals, and the full moon rituals. I will set apart a sacred temple, sacred space for me to commune with the gods, where I'm not distracted. And I do this in a number of different ways. I normally will walk the space 3 times around, just simply concentrating on literally like I'm journeying into the other world. Now, whether this is done clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on what I'm doing, I don't necessarily work with the concept that if moving clockwise is positive and moving counterclockwise is negative. I know some Wiccans do that. That's not part of my practice. For me, I often will journey counterclockwise because I'm trying to go against the sun. I'm trying to enter into a different realm, and so it works very well when I go counterclockwise. Although that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes I want to work with the natural elements. For instance, when I'm working outside, I often go clockwise or with the sun because I'm trying to attune with the energies of nature. Um, I don't do a whole lot of visualization. I don't necessarily always lay a physical circle. So I have at times marked out the circle. I've taken my staff or my stang and I've literally walked the circle and kind of drug it to form the actual physical circle on the ground. I've also laid out a cord. Um, I've done that when I'm indoors. I've also done things like taking seashells or other objects or crystals and forming that space, that boundary. But I don't think that's necessary. Most of the time, I simply just walk in a circle around my center. I normally put my altar when I'm working outdoors or in a ceremony in the center. I don't, my day to day altar, I don't cast a circle at, so there's no reason for to do that. So my day to day altar is against the wall because I don't pray in a circle. I don't do any of my basic day to day stuff. For me, I reserve working with a circle for special occasions. If that makes any sense, it's something sacred. Very much in the ancient world, people built shrines and temples, and that was almost considered like the home of the god. So when you entered the temple, you were journeying outside of the mundane world and entering into that realm of the deity. And so for me, that's how I view it. So I cast a circle 3 times around, once for the Father, once for the Son, and once for the Holy Spirit. That's how I do it. And excuse me, but I also see the circle as almost, like I said, like a gateway. It's like it's like the world tree. I often visualize the circle as a tree. So when I'm casting the circle, my roots go deep into the earth and my branches rise up, connecting the land and the sea and the sky. I'm connecting to all the realms. After I cast a circle, I will also honor the 4 directions, and sometimes I will honor elements or the archangels in those directions, and sometimes I simply just honor the directions. I don't really talk about calling the quarters as much, the quarters, because notice I'm in a circle, so and the circle doesn't have corners, it has quarters. It's divided into 4 parts, like a pie. So I do work with the 4 directions, but not always. I mean, sometimes I just use the circle itself. And I do sometimes see the circle as a spear to raise energy in. I also sometimes see it as a protective device if I'm doing something. Um, I've had times when I have used a protective circle when I'm doing certain types of blessings and things in a house where I'm trying to exercise or certain spirits and stuff, where I will put a protective circle around me in that sense. So while I'm doing the cleansing, I'm protected from all harm, but I rarely use a protective circle. And even, like I said, and most of my spell works don't require really heavily based on raising and sending out energy, although I do that. Um, so I don't need the whole spew of energy. So my circles tend to be open at the top and the bottom because it's connecting to the land and to the sky, and it's this gateway point, this crossroads of the cosmos. So like I said, it's where I can connect to. It's almost like in the Bible, it talks about Jacob's ladder, where Jacob sees angels ascending to heaven and descending. I almost see like the magic circle as Jacob's ladder is the gateway, where things can, ascend up or down depending on what we're working towards. So that's kind of how I work with a magic circle. And like I said, I don't use magic circles for daily stuff. I mean, like, I practice a lot of Christian folk magic, and rarely does it call for working with a magic circle. Certainly, if you wanted to, you could add on a magic circle if you wanted to. And I do know certain folk magic traditions that do use a circle when creating talismans or things like that. That's rare, but I mean, it's not really my practice. I really save the circle for special occasions, and it's really for me a temple. It's a It's not, like I said, it's not creating sacred space. It's simply a place set apart for me to honor the Holy Trinity as the Lord and Lady, as a Wiccan. That's really what I view the circle as. It's just simply a temple. It's my portable temple that I can do anywhere, anytime, any space. And of course, it also is, of course, that gateway, that between the world space where I can journey towards the heavens or journey down into the earth to connect to the earth mother. It's where I connect to the ancestors. It's everything is kind of this space at a time where I'm shifting my consciousness and entering into what is already sacred, but it's like I'm deep, it's almost like I'm awakening or awakening to the sacredness of the space, because all space is truly sacred. It's a way of acknowledging that the space is sacred. But the reason why a circle is so important, because all space is sacred. So that's kind of how what a circle means to me. I would be curious to find out what other people and how they work with circles and how they see the magic circle. And if you use one, don't use one. How do you use one? That would be great to hear. Please comment. Many blessings.